All right, so let's get started. This will, for my morning role play group, this will be more of a process-driven conversation and something we could all practice at 12:30. So look, as August 23rd approaches, I think in my mind, the biggest fundamental shift that we have to make is just being able to explain options and professional services. This is not rocket science. This is not complicated, but yet everything in life is not complicated, but people can make everything in life is simple, but people can make anything complicated, right? So let me run through our 7 keys of effective conversation, and then we're going to get into explaining a buyer's agent's commission. Key and rule number 1, what a person does is always their choice. As soon as you understand this, you'll realize whatever someone does has nothing to do with you. Number 2, the person asking the questions controls the conversations. Controls conversation. If you're talking the whole time, you're not in control. Number 3 and number 4, always be in agreement with your client. And number 4, it always has to be in their benefit. They could tell you the craziest thing in the world. You could go through all the comps, and they could have the most rundown house in the world, and they'd want to price it more than a home that's fully renovated in their neighborhood. You say, great, Evan, what I hear you saying is you want to maximize the equity in your home. Is that correct? Like, that's being in agreement and your client's benefit. Number 5, no telling, no explaining, no being combative. Well, if you don't offer a buyer's agent's commission, you're out the game. Number 6, never be attached to the outcome. Number 7, just because they choose to compromise does not mean you have to. Meaning there are plenty of clients out there that want to do crazy things, does not mean you have to say yes. One of the fundamental shifts I think everyone needs to make is saying no. You do realize no is a full sentence, right? Would you work for a discounted commission? No. No, well, you see all the market, just stop. This ends today and now. See, what I know is you put people that are invested in themselves, invested in creating the best experience for their clients, are willing to show up and practice, you are more valuable than the people that don't. And here's another thing. When August comes around, I think it is going to be the most fair market that anyone's got to work in. Meaning, if you have to pay for something, you are now more interested in options than when you just quote unquote had it for free. Does that make sense? The same reason that you hired your brother-in-law as a broker, even though he sells 2 houses every 3 years, so Thanksgiving wasn't going to be awkward, is the same reason you're not going to hire him, because you have to pay him all that money. It's going to be really awkward and he does a really bad job. So let's get into this whole buyer's agent's commission thing. Rule number 1, it is not a commission. Shrug, but if it's not a commission, what is it? It is a sales incentive. That's all that it is. Sales incentive. People have been using sales incentives to sell things from the beginning of time. If you buy now today, you can get our 3 fast action bonuses, right? Sound familiar? Sales incentives, right? So we all go shopping. We all are professionals, so we all have to buy professional clothing. We want to buy a business suit, whether you're a man or a woman. Now you look at 3 brands, right? Hermes, Gucci, and let's see, what's my third one today? Burberry. Hermes, of course, has no discount or no sales incentive. Gucci has a 10% discount or a 10% sales incentive. And Burberry is a 30% discount or a 30% sales incentive. Which one would you go to and why? Generally speaking, you're going to start in the 30%, right? It's the same. It's the same exact thing with your sellers. So data that you need prepared. Number 1, you need to know, and this might be new for some of you, in any price point you're pitching in, what percentage of homes are co-broked? Does anyone know that statistic for their market? Here's just a complete side note. When you're in a really competitive situation, you know what everyone focuses on. I can do this for your house. I'm going to get you all this exposure and everything else. And I always tell our clients, and like, we'll get people that literally will pay us for an hour to sit there and like tailor a very high-end pitch. And they'll say, listen, I can go through all this stuff, but what I can tell you is based on your price point, 92% of properties are co-broke, meaning another agent represented buyer in our house. So it'd be negligent in us not to heavily focus our marketing strategy on directly to agents. Nobody does that because nobody thinks about that, right? 96 to 97%, right? So that means only 3 to 4% of these people are finding homes on their own. Cherish, do you think that's valuable in a conversation about buyer's agency?
Absolutely.
Exactly. But see, when we have the facts, people, as Cato says, you can make decisions off of facts, not feelings. So number one, you need to know the percentage of properties that are co-broke. Number two, this is the only thing I will tell you to print because you're really at a digital company, minus like your listing pitch book. You want to bring all the other comparable homes and right now highlight what percentage of them are offering compensation and how much. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think about this very much like going to shopping for, and look, this is where we need to get good at like scanning the room and practicing so we could do this. I could walk around into anyone's home or place or stuff like that. It's like, look, I see you see a value in bags, shoes, art, whatever it is. So if you're buying a piece of artwork and these are three distinct scenarios, which one would you go look for the artwork and why? Like that puts it in their minds, right? Remember, you need people to absorb the information, right? What you're saying is perceived value. What they understand is actualized value. If people can't actualize and understand the value of what you're saying, it's worthless. They'll never pay for it. I'm going to say that again. If people don't understand what they're getting from you based on the words and questions and the process that you say, everything that you offer is worthless and they'll never pay for it. And it's not that it's not valuable. It's that you don't know how to communicate the value of it in the eyes of somebody else. Right? So highlight those properties. Number three is walking people through the scenarios, right? And you have to address the elephant in the room. What is the elephant in the room? Media headlines. NAR has been referred to as a cartel. We don't sell drugs. We actually provide like a very valuable service, right? They said the end of 6% commissions. I know a lot of you on this call that love if your market had 6% commissions. The end of the buyers, it's just drama. And if you know anything about American media, it's not real news, right? It's like clickbait stuff. It's why Real Deal used to put Compass in a negative light all the time because it got 200 to 300% more clicks and engagements than posts that didn't have Compass. Interesting, right? So what you're going to ask first is we want to get a temperature check. I would want to say to you, Cherish, I'm sure you have seen the media headlines around upcoming changes in the real estate industry. Just want to get an idea of, what you read and your thoughts and feelings around it. Let them tell you first. Number two in this segment. The other part that you want to say is, hey, would it be helpful for you to understand how we got here? And they're going to say, yeah, right? Remember, people's brains process information. Why, what, how? Why, what, how? So why did this happen? Well, you can go through it. What happened and how's it going to change, right? So you're going to say, look, NAR and MLS has had a thing called clear cooperation, that if you're going to list your property on an MLS, which is just a central database where agents put their homes and make them available to other agents, right, to look at and share with their clients. That's about as simple and as much as you need to tell somebody. We would offer out an offer of compensation, a sales incentive for someone to bring a buyer and professionally represent them till the end of the transaction. By the way, do not say buyer's agents do all this stuff. Who here has been a listing agent, work with a shitty buyer's agent? Everyone's hands need to go up, right? So if you're saying all these things are going to happen, it's like the same thing when you tell people I'm available anytime, anywhere for anything you want. They just keep calling you. Self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So you're going to share that this is what was offered. Generally, an offer was required. The minimum offer was $1. Did you know that? It was $1. Did you know that? Most people had no idea. And one of the issues in this court case was mandating a commission that a seller pay out a buyer's agent. Now, in the middle of the trial, it changed to 0. So essentially, for all of these years and up until I would look at the date when it changed to 0, somewhere over the summer, somewhere in like it's May or January, February. It changed to 0. Did you know that? No. So essentially, all you had to pay a buyer's agent was $1 and now 0. And they're going to say, oh, that makes sense. So essentially, what this is called is decoupling commissions. What it really means is you can or cannot offer a sales incentive, which you've always been able to do. We are no longer able to display an offer of compensation in the MLS directly. You can offer a concession. And more importantly, would it be okay, Mary Murphy, if I went through the 4 different options that you have? And whatever you decide to do, I support you 100%. Just remember, when you give people options, you just need to say those magic words. Whatever I do, whatever you do, I support you 100%. This gives people the permission in their mind to be wrong or right. It doesn't matter. See, the days of like forcing our will on people is over. All these gimmicky garbage sales lines, well, if you don't have professional, like they don't need it. I said this in 2012 in a room full of almost 150 agents at the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors, MLS, from Charity Young Professionals Network. I said the number one problem that you're all going to have is your clients know more about the neighborhoods than you do. It's true. I'm spending $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. You don't think I'm spending a quarter of my workday on Zillow and reading everything about it? For God's sakes, you could go into ChatGPT and type anything. It's just going to pull all the data. You go to ChatGPT 4, this thing's analyzing visuals, right? Like, it's wild. So that explains how to get there. And the first option of compensation is no compensation. Why should they offer a compensation? And we'll role play this one out at 12:30. So I encourage all of you to join. Who's here was there for the morning session? Anybody? Drop in the comments how good. I think that was one of my favorite sessions that we've done. Share with the rest of the people as an incentive to come. It was great. We talked about, think about this scenario. If you're in a market where homes are selling in 10 days or less, sellers are getting 100+% of their asking price, why should I offer out a compensation? It's a legitimate, like, I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, why should I offer out anything, right? So we'll walk through how that process works. Cherish will have some amazing notes from that for scripts, right? So make sure you bring your autopilots. Now, it's no compensation, right? So when you say that there's no compensation, you can say, let me ask you a question. If you were looking at other properties and you're having the highlighted sheets right in front of you, because we're talking about this for today, when we get closer to August, I will create a new process, but this is still viable today. If you were shopping, would it or would it not influence you to see a property if you knew you had to pay blank percentage out of your pocket? Remember, we go through compensation in the end after we go through pricing. So you could say $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. Why or why not? If the people say, I don't care, I would go. If I want to buy a house, I'm going to pay the agent everything. Do not argue with them. David says this all the time, our executive leadership coach. What's true for you is true for you. And until you choose to see it in a different way, nothing is going to change. You don't want to argue with them, right? Remember key number 5, no telling, no explaining, no being combative. Don't argue with them. Great. The second option is you can offer out a flat fee. Well, in the flat fee option, it's similar to the first one. A person will have to come out of money out of pocket. Let me ask you a question. How would that impact your ability to see a home? And do you think it'll impact other buyers? And you got to remember, the key number in like really highlighting this is list price to sales price, right? If it's a hot market or not, days on market. And the other one is be like, look, what data suggests now is 96 to 97% of people choose to work with an agent. So out of that 96 and 97%, by them being responsible for their own compensation, there is no data to support things either way, but there is a good possibility or possibility that you could potentially lose buyers. And if that's something that's okay with you, it's okay with me. Remember, these homeowners are going to be like your children. Who here has kids? You can tell them something 1,000 times until they fall flat on their face and they realize it hurts on their own. They're not going to change. And we'll talk about this in the role play, this concept of costs and payoffs. And I think we might be able to have time today. Listen, if they're like, oh, yeah, you're right, and everything else like that, it's easy. It's like, oh, yeah, but don't you think most buyers are like you? Yeah, totally. Especially in the most, especially in entry price points for first-time home buyers. Look, and I always go back to this. If you don't have the money to pay an agent, but you want to use an agent, what do you think someone's going to do? Only go to the properties that offer an agent. An agent gets paid 2 to 3% to protect your 97 to 98%. And some people would say, well, why would I lose that at home if I want to use an agent? Well, guess what? You can't create value in somebody's eyes that service is valueless. Melissa Rubin, we've talked about this a lot, right? Convincing people of value. I'll just highlight Melissa here. Melissa, I don't even say arguably, Melissa has the longest standing relationship with what I would believe the hardest client on earth, right? Like, and can I share this story, Melissa? This guy, there's no nice word in the English language to describe this man. He will steal your confidence and soul in the process if you have any kind of emotions to working with him. And what we realized about him and what Melissa and I worked through is like, whatever we said, right, Melissa, we just agree with him. This is the offer and everything. Melissa would be like, go through logic. Okay, great. No problem. You want to put that out. Right. Well, here's what the other agent said. So what do you suggest we do? So she became always on his side. It became a we. And, you know, Melissa has now done multiple how many transactions have you done with him?
About 8, totaling about $40 million.
Okay, and how many times has he said, I'm going to use different agents and everything else and done really messed up stuff, but then comes back again?
A lot.
A lot, right? But, you know, can you just share with them on navigating emotions through this and kind of the shift that you had made and just really just letting go of being attached to any outcome and just going with the flow?
It's when you're not attached to the outcome, you stop defending it. You stop defending the market. And that working with Chirag, that really helped me a lot. And when he was wanting everything at 30 cents on the dollar, working with Chirag, I said, I can't get you 30 cents. I can get you 60 cents. If that can work, we can work together. And from then on, he respected me enough to work together. And then when other agents say, but the comp is this and the market is this, I'm able to say, I understand, but that's not what the value is to my client. So it doesn't work for him without having any emotion. It's been a huge change.
Yeah, $40 million in sales volume change, right? So look, I brought Melissa to share this is, look, in these two scenarios, whatever they choose to do, who cares? Do you know how many agents I hear losing listings trying to explain buyer's agent's commission? Like, you need no emotional attachment to this. Because remember, who the hell wants to hire a non-enthusiastic salesperson, which is a luxury service, and then pay him 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000? Does not make sense. You're not going to pay somebody to tell you that you're wrong. You're going to pay somebody to guide you to help make the right decision. Decision number 3, a percentage-based commission. Generally, what you always do, you would say, my listing, the investment for my services, don't say fee. The investment for my services is 3%. And we can decide together a percentage-based compensation. Based on what your competitors are offering, we see the ranges between 2, 2.5, and 3%. So in our example before, do you want to be Hermes, Gucci, or Burberry in terms of incentivizing people to come show your property? That's it. And the fourth one is, regardless of option 1, 2, or 3, a buyer can come here and literally list their compensation as part of their offer and as a negotiation strategy. Now, here is the most important thing I'm going to tell you today. And I hope all of you can really just like listen and absorb this. I'm going to say this in big, like if this was on a document, it'd be in size 452 black letters screaming at you. Do not get caught up in the semantics of freaking paperwork today. Well, how do I do this? Can I share this? And what's going to, who the hell knows? Do you think these people have any idea what they're doing today? NAR has a track record of one thing, not making sense. And the second thing is, the only consistent thing about them is their ability to make bad decisions on behalf of all of us. I'm still an NAR member, so I feel I have the right to say this. The only thing that you can control is how you choose to invest your time in practicing this conversation so it feels good for the other person. Think about it. If you saw all these headlines around what you do, I'd be thinking the same thing. Shit, man, I could save some money. Why not? And a lot of the things they say are they amplified like a magnifying glass on an ant. Yeah, but the fact is a trade organization required compensation. The fact that they had it at $1 and didn't make it zero is just stupid. I don't know any other way to say it. The thing you get about me is on me. I can't help it, but I'll tell you the truth. And then they changed it in the middle of trial. Like, talk about admission of guilt. I'm saying I'm guilty. This was wrong. The day that ML, so if you have an idea, does anyone know my perspective of how this all got here? And the Compass journey played a part in this, right? In 2019, if you're a Compass, Robert was going around the country going in markets like, anyone here from San Francisco? Half the market is Compass agents, right? So he goes, look, when we started coming soon, Robert's like, it was the greatest strategy that really was ever created. It shifted an entire industry. He goes, look, in markets like San Francisco, Boston, New York City, Nashville, to name a few, if you're not on compass.com, you could be missing out on 20 to 50% of the market coming soon. They would have put every website out of business through the work that we're all doing on having a plan. The entire industry freaked out, and then they came out with all those coming soon rules, right? Like, I forgot what the actual terminology is today. You put that, like telling me how I own my home and like what I can and can't do with it, plus requiring compensation. There's another lawsuit that is not a class action, but it's through the Fair Trades Commission, saying that a licensed professional can't require another person to work with a licensed professional to complete a service. That's another one. Instead, we all should have been educating on just simply explaining this to our clients. And even as these lawsuits were getting settled, 10 plus people, right? A defendant, a defendant's attorney, a plaintiff's attorney, a judge, and I think there are 12. How many people are on the jury? Anybody? How many people?
In Missouri, it's 8.
12. Right? So 12, 8. Okay. So 4, 5, 12, 17 to 13 different people all agreeing on something. And the Department of Justice says, this is not changing anything. We need to further intervene. So it is our job between today, we have June, July, August. We have 90 days. There's nowhere else on earth that I know or I found that's really sitting here getting into the dirt with this. You need to just learn how to explain this. That's all that it is. It's an explanation of features, benefits, and it's kind of like a SWOT analysis, right? Like strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, right? There's an agent I spoke with the other day that says, I'm going to go in, like you said, Chirag, I'm going to say, let's just go through a SWOT analysis with strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of offering out a compensation and not, and you can choose what's best for you. Right? There are different ways and words of doing this, right? Here's the strengths, here's the weakness, here's the opportunities, here's the threats. Someone here is going to make a really cool visual on this. It's not, but it's not going to be me. I can tell you that. This is not something that I can commit to doing, but it's an idea for somebody to work with. So you need to get good at doing this. It doesn't matter. Whatever the paperwork is going to be, in probably the first week by August 7th, at the latest the 10th, NAR, your local associations, you guys do realize you work for a multi-billion-dollar company that is a full legal department, compliance department, sales managers, sales leaders, RVPs. You have thousands of people at work here that will figure this out. You don't have to. The only thing that you have to control is how you choose to invest your time. That's it. Can we all do that? If you can't explain this in the next 30 days, or probably I would say 2 weeks realistically, it means you're not practicing them. That's it. Let's see, how many accountability groups? Cherish has a group, Jody has a group, Mary has a group, Brad has a group. It's 4 different groups. We have 2 more that we're going to be opening up. Melissa and Justin Martinez are going to do it. So we'll have 6 different opportunities to go into groups and practice with other people. Let me tell you, one of the most impressive things I've seen is these meeting agendas that they send out. And I mentioned Martha. Martha's there. We love Martha. If you think about this, they have meeting agendas. They have timelines of what they're doing. They have recap emails, group shares, call outs. These leaders have done an incredible job of organizing these things. So reach out. Join a group. If you're not practicing every day, but you're going on social media every day, that is a mindset shift that you need to make. If you have time for Instagram, but you don't have time to protect your business, I don't know. I will pray for you. It's the best thing I can do. And I could just keep providing you great content. Right? So show up for yourselves. Everyone needs to come to these live role-playing sessions. Where can I join an accountability group? Well, whoever is here that wants to join a group, if Martha, I believe you're here, Cherish, you're here. I'm looking around to see who else is here. So anyone that's here, just drop your email that's a leader in the group and reach out to them. Right. So if you need to join a group, come in and, I would say that our Zoom chat is like my Tinder box for dating, right? Suzanne, reach out to Cherish, Jody, Martha. Please don't put it on the accountability leaders to email you. Take it on yourself to reach out to them. Cherish, drop your email in there. Martha.knapp is another one. Brad has a book club, right? Jody. And Jody's is in there too. Just reach out to them, join a group. There's no reason to do this alone. So as always, love in my heart, I love you all. And listen, come back at 12:30. I promise you this dialogue in getting sellers to offer out buyer's agents commission in no inventory markets and how to walk through this might be the coolest thing you've ever seen. And I'm gonna walk you through how people's brain psychology works in making decisions, change, and really the key factors in influencing somebody based on data and not any of this wonky stuff that other people talk about. So I will see you all at 12:30. Bye, everybody.